Hello everyone, welcome to Sew Happy with Sana. Here I share my sewing experiences, notions and tips. So please kindly subscribe to the channel, or if you know of anyone who would it's the information would benefit, kindly ask them to subscribe. So today I want to talk about a very overlooked piece of equipment in our sewing room, or underrated, and that is the sewing needle. It is really important that we understand the information that is on the packets of the sewing machines, the sewing machine needles. They have information on there, and there is a reason that they put them there. So it is good for us to pay attention to what the information on the sewing machine needles mean. So that's what I want to talk about. I also want to talk about the anatomy of a sewing machine needle, if you will. And it is important that we use the right needles for the right projects and for the right sewing machines. I've got here different sewing machine, my different sewing machines. If you can see them in the background, I've got my Atelier 9 here. I've got my brother's sewing machine at the back here. I've got my cover stitch Janome here. Oh, sorry, this is the cover stitch machine. I've got the overlocker here, and then I've got my Singer machine at the back. So when you have multiple sewing machines, it is very easy for you to maybe insert the wrong needle, or think that they all can be used for the same machine needle can be used for the same or a different sewing machine, but it's usually not the case. Usually a machine needle that is meant for an overlocker will not be suitable for, say, a cover stitch machine, and the reason is that they have different systems, and so even though they look similar, they definitely are not. They are designed differently. So it is important that we refer to our sewing machine manual to find out exactly what the machine calls for. If you can look closely on my cover stitch machine here, I'll try and come as close as possible. Here it tells you specifically to use only ELX 705 needles. So usually they would write it on the machine itself, or you would find that information in the manual. So it is important to refer to that. So without further ado, let us just go and look at how the sewing machine needles are designed. Most domestic sewing machines, this is the only way I could actually display the needle. So most domestic sewing machines have a flat back, and then they have a rounded, a curved front. So the top of the needle is called the butt. That goes, helps it to be inserted into the machine. And from the butt, you go to the shank of the machine. This part here is called the shank. That is usually where you find information written on. You find information written, etched on, as to the brand of the company or the size of the needle. Then from the shank, you go to the shoulder. Let's use this one. So from the shank, you go to the shoulder, and the shoulder is usually where sometimes they put color coding. Like if you look at this one closely, you see that it has color coding. There's a red and then a blue. That usually denotes either the size or the type of needle that it is. Some companies do that, some don't. This is a Singer. It doesn't have any color coding on it. So, and then from there, you go to the blade. The blade is the long part of the needle, the long narrow part, and that is the part that goes into the needle. And usually you can tell this the size of the needle sometimes by looking at the width of the blade. The wider the blade, the bigger the needle size it is. From the blade, you go to the scarf. The scarf is usually found, sometimes if you pay close attention, just above the eye of the needle. Just above the eye of the needle, you find like kind of like an indentation, a hollowed out part. That is the scarf of the needle. And the scarf of the needle is where the thread passes through, and then the thread passes through the scarf, and then it goes into the eye and goes into the fabric. When it goes into the fabric, the thread in the scarf area is picked up by the bobbin hook area, and then so it forms a stitch. So the scarf area is where the thread passes into the fabric and then gets into the bobbin case, and then the hook in the bobbin case latches onto the thread and forms a stitch. So also on the blade area, you would find a groove. The groove also is where it sits in the blade. The groove is more or less like a channel in the needle blade it's put there to, of course, pass the needle thread. The thread passes through the groove into the scarf and then into the fabric. And the groove, usually some machine needles have one groove, or sometimes they have two. Sometimes the groove can be on the front of the needle, or it can be both on the front and on the back. And the length of the groove, the size of the groove as well, also depicts what kind of needle it is and what kind of stitch formations the needle is meant for. So you've got that the groove. Then you've got the eye of the needle, of course, where the thread passes through, and then you've got the tip of the needle, which is the pointy bit, which is the first part to make contact with the fabric. So those are the parts of the needle, and all the parts, of course, play a crucial role. So I've got here some packets of needles, and all domestic sewing machines have a system that they use, and the system being that they have a flat back and a curved front, because some industrial sewing machines are designed differently. So the domestic sewing machines have a system that is, it has a flat back with a curved the front is curved, and it also has a scarf. So that is called a system, and they have a number of systems. If you look on, let's say this is a Singer machine. I hope the writing is not going to be upside down, probably will. But there's a system called XA times 1. That's a system, XA times 1. And that is what this Singer machine uses, XA times 1. You've got another system called 15 times 1. There's another system called 15 times 1, not on this one though, 15 times 1. And then you've got another system that has not this one. You've got another system that is 130/705H. Now that H is a German word. It's pronounced whole kill. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but that's what I going by the spelling, whole kill. And that H at the end of it is also a depiction on, or tells you the shape of the scarf that the needle is. So there's a reason why that H is there. It's a German word. So 130 times 705 is another system. So for instance, my overlocker would use 130/705H. My Singer machine would use the system of XA times 1. Would use the system of XA times 1. Then my my cover stitch machine will tell you specifically, don't use any other machine needle other than ELX 705. So those are some of the systems that the domestic machine needles use. So you've got the XA times 1, you've got the 15 times 1, you've got the 130 times 1, and then you've got the ELX 705. So it is important to pay attention to what sewing machine needles your machine uses, because there is a reason why they have the information written on. So please pay attention to your needle systems. So the ELX 705, for instance, is it was first designed for Elna sewing machines, but now it's a system that has been adopted by the other machine companies, and it is a specialist cover stitch system. So it has grooves on both the front and the back of the needle of the blade, and this helps to prevent skip stitches, and it also creates chain stitch. So when, for instance, when you put this in your machine, your cover stitch machine, the fact that it has a groove on the back and a groove on the front means that that is what is helping to create your chain stitch, the cover stitch, and also to prevent skipped stitches. And also the ELX machine needles have reinforced blades, so so they tend to be stronger. So today, that is just what I want to touch on about the machine needle systems, the anatomy of a sewing machine, and the importance of us using the right needles for the right sewing machines, not to get them mixed up, put them together so that you don't get them all mixed up, because it helps to prevent damage to your sewing machine, and also to give you the correct or desired stitches. So that's just what I want to talk about today. The next time I'm going to be talking about the sizing of the needles and other information regarding sewing machine needles. And so I hope that you found this information helpful. Please keep your needles separate, and also value or be mindful of the information that is written on, because if you mistakenly go and put an ELX 705 into a machine that wants a system of 130/705H, you might not get the good results, or you do the reverse. You go and put an XA times 1 in a machine that wants an ELX 705, you would be calling for trouble. So I hope you found this video helpful, and happy sewing, and thank you for watching. Bye.